We have set the entire system up within this masking taped boundary here to represent the area that it's going to be installed in. This is the complete system with the two surge tanks in the rear, the separate and skim unit, the pump unit, and the separate controller. All three tanks have been custom designed to fit through the doorway, as you can see. Both surge tanks feature hinged lids with handles, knobs, and gaskets. The hinges have removable pins so that each hinge panel can be removed. The surge tanks have been designed with a slope bottom and a 3-inch NPT port for easy clean out. They also have forklift pads for moving the tank around. The legs on the tank have been designed to be streamlined and not have any trip hazards around the outside. And there is a mounting hole inside for securing to the concrete. The surge tanks have been designed with two interconnecting 3-inch NPT pipes to maintain a constant level between the two tanks. Tank number 1 is complete with an oily water inlet and a screen cover that is removable for cleaning. Surge tank number 2 is complete with a low-level float switch and it is important here to note that the surge tank must be filled or primed to level just below the float switch before startup. Each of the two surge tanks are complete with floating weirs, flexible hose that is coupled to a flow balancing valve. Each tank is complete with a floating weir oil skimmer. The skimmer floats on the surface of the water and removes oily water from the top surface through the 3 notches. The oily water outlet is complete with a cam lock fitting to easily remove the hoses. The oily water is pumped from the surge tanks and into the separate and skim tank here at the oily water inlet. The basic concept of the separate and skim unit is that the oily water enters here after being pumped from the two surge tanks. After it enters, it passes through the separation media in this area of the tank. The separation media causes the oil to float to the surface here, and the clear water flows through on the bottom. There is an underflow weir here and an overflow weir here. So the clear water underflows the first weir, overflows the second weir, and flows out the clear water outlet. The oily water that has floated to the surface is then skimmed with the floating tube 1H oil skimmer. The separate and skim tank has 3 separate lid sections covering the tank. The lid sections have handles and no tool knobs for quick access into the tank. They are also easily removed with hinges complete with quick remove pins. The tank is also supplied with 4 lifting eyes, 1 at each corner. For loading, unloading, transportation of the tank, forklift tubes have been supplied, complete with anchor holes. Oily water that has been pumped into the separate and skim tank enters the tank here and passes through the separation media here. The separation media is one individual unit with a frame designed for lifting, for maintenance, and cleaning. As the oily water flows through the tank, the separation media separates the oil, which flows to the surface here. The clear water on the bottom of the tank underflows the underflow weir, fills this cavity, overflows this weir, and exits out the clear water outlet here. The Model 1H oil skimmer is mounted on this lid, and this lid is completely removable from the tank for cleaning or maintenance purposes. If you would like to completely remove it from this area, we've left the plug on the cord, which is 120 volt single phase. The control power for this skimmer comes from the controller, so you would hardwire an outlet to the controller within reach of this plug. Simply unplug it, pull the pins from this lid, and you can remove this for maintenance and cleaning. I've opened the lid with the 1H skimmer attached to show you the underside of the skimmer itself. This is a floating tube technology skimmer. The tube is not currently installed, but a floating tube passes through the ceramics, is driven by this ceramic toothed drive wheel, and then the oil is scraped when passing through the ceramic scrapers. When lowered, the tube passes here and floats over the separation media to skim the oil off the surface. When the oil skimmer lid is lowered, the oil that is being scraped at the ceramic scrapers here drops into the decanter tank here. Some water is picked up during the process still, even though it has been separated through the separation media. But in this tank, oil floats to the surface, the clear water drops below and flows out our T-pipe here. Oily water builds up on the surface, overflows this weir here, and the oil collected in this pan leaves the oil discharge outlet here. It is important to note that on initial startup, or after the system has been cleaned, emptied, and ready to be restarted, the surge tanks must be filled up with water to the low-level float switch seen here, and the separating skim tank should be filled up with water until water exits the clear water outlet port here. The system is controlled by one controller. This is a NEMA 4X polycarbonate controller that is powered by 120 volt single phase power. It has a lockable OSHA approved disconnect switch for safety during maintenance. And the controls are one control for the skimmer and one control for the pump. The skimmer is controlled with an on-off auto switch. In the on position, the skimmer can run continuously. In the auto position, it will run in conjunction with a timer that is built into this controller. The pump has a momentary jog position for maintenance and debugging purposes only, and it should be run in the auto position at all times. The auto position is tied to the float switch in the surge tanks and will only activate the pump when the liquid is full enough to reach the low-level float switch. The controller has been supplied with clearly labeled termination points. 120 volt single phase power will land at A, C, and ground. The skimmer motor will land at T1, T2, and ground. The pump motor will land at PT1, PT2, and ground. And the float switch will land at 203 and 204. 4 half-inch knockout holes have been supplied on the bottom of the controller.